Electricast.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
On this episode of Missing the Point, we'll discuss the two major moves the Boston Celtics have made in the past week, from trading Kemba Walker to the Oklahoma City Thunder and reacquiring Al Horford, to the reported hiring of Ime Udoka to be the next Celtics head coach. We'll also discuss the current standings of both the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, and we'll also discuss Carl Nassib announcing that he is the first active player to announce that he is gay in the NFL. This is Missing the Point, episode 69. Nice!
Welcome to Missing the Point, the only podcast left on the internet. Yep, you heard that right. Due to a very complicated malfunction at the World Internet headquarters, every other podcast has been deleted from the internet. Even Rayshawn's other podcast that he cheats on us with. So, we're all you've got left. We hope you like sports and nonsense.
Don't check on that.
Don't check on the other podcast. Yeah, just do what everyone else does and blindly listen to talking heads. And stick around for the sports. Go fill your trash bags with gasoline and just stay right here. Today, we have a great show, and in what's rapidly becoming a rarity, as we book more and more outstanding guests like Bruins insider Kaylee Allard, who was with us earlier this week to wax lyrical about the fate of the Bees. That link will be down in the show notes. But it's nice to be here with some of the original founding fathers of Missing the Point to talk sports. First up, we have Rayshawn joining us tonight. Rayshawn just back from Florida, making him the most intelligent thing to come out of the state of Florida since NASA lost its last shuttle. Ray, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to get going, man. This is I've been waiting to have this show and talk about it. It's been a few weeks since I've been on, so I'm ready to get cracking.
That's because you were down in Florida with the dumb people. DK, we probably have a lot of listeners from Florida. This is bad. DK Sizzle. Besides this, well, yeah, if they were a student of Ray's, they're going to learn pretty quick to move.
It's okay to say people in Florida are idiots. We're idiots. So, like, you know, we're not sitting here going, we're the smartest people in the world. Come on in, Florida.
Oh, yeah. Notice a lot.
Absolutely not.
Notice a lot of the Florida man stories have turned into Massachusetts man in Florida. So we're not much smarter up here. DK Sizzle is here, itching to talk about basketball. In fact, I think he's just suffering from a flare-up of that thing that he caught from that Motel 6, that one that you went to, Dave, and he's probably just itching in general. So
it's regular itching. It's not basketball, it's hawk itching. It's my doctor doesn't know what it is. They think it's some sort of staph thing. I don't know. You know, it's getting out of control.
Staph. What the hell's wrong with you?
Wait, what's staph? Is staph bad? Is staph bad? Is staph bad? Why is that a bad one?
Staff's not good. It's
strep. No. What was I thinking?
Strep throat. What the hell happened? What does that bidet do to you?
Poison ivy? What itches? I don't know. I couldn't think of one. Jesus.
Finally, is the real doctor Bob Kelly? He's about to be someone's dad, and as we announced recently, so I thought I'd hit him with some dad jokes. All right, Bobby, you ready? Don't laugh. My son asked me recently if I got a haircut. I told him I didn't. I got them all cut. All right, last one. Bobby, did you know the original name for the umbrella was just Brella, but the dude that named it hesitated? Oh, wait, hang on. All right, no, you're right. Last one. Did you hear about the dad running around his household in a screwdriver yelling, "This is not a drill"? Welcome to Missing the Point. And tonight we're going to talk about the NBA because there's a lot to talk about in the NBA. And the first thing we're going to talk about
Thanks, Daddy.
the first thing we're going to talk about is GM Willikers, Brad Stevens, who is now the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. And he made his first trade as the president of basketball operations. And I think he took some notes from the old black book of Danny Ainge with this one, as he trades Kemba Walker away. Actually, maybe he didn't, because based on this trade that he got done involving Kemba, he probably would have got a deal done with Gordon Hayward, but that's besides the point. So let's take a look at this trade, guys, as the Boston Celtics trade away Kemba Walker, who spent 2 seasons with the team. They trade the 16th overall pick in this year's draft and a 2025 second rounder to Oklahoma City and get back Al Horford, whose wife is one of Boston fans' favorites, wags, Moses Brown, who I think we're all excited about, and a 2023 second round pick. Ray, what do you think?
I love the move, honestly. People forget, people were upset about Horford leaving more so than Kyrie in 2019. I mean, I probably was maybe equally upset about them both leaving, but Horford was a great character guy. Now, yes, did he underperform for someone that was getting to 112? Yes, because I think people thought he was going to come in here getting 20 and 10, but I'm like, he only did that a couple of years in Atlanta, and it wasn't even 20 and 10. It was like 18 and 9, 17 and 9, and this is not a knock on him, but he really is a poor man's Tim Duncan, right? He's quiet like Tim. He could shoot it, he could pass it. He could do everything that Tim does, but just not at the level that Tim Duncan was doing it, right? So, but anytime that you're, setting the same breath as Tim Duncan, you should be given, you should be okay with that, I should say. But yeah, I love it from a character standpoint. He's someone that still stretches the floor. Obviously, Tatum and Brown respect him. The rest of the team's going to respect him. So, that part's great. Moses Brown, as you said in your opening statement about the trade, Joe, listen, man, the dude had 21 and 23 against us earlier in the season, and he had some other games against Chicago and some other teams where he got 20 and 18, so it wasn't just against the Celtics. The guy's 7'2", and, you can't teach height. You just can't. And you can't teach hustle, which is something he has, which is something this team needs. So to get Horford back, you're basically giving the 16th pick for Moses Brown. That's literally what happened. So overall, I like the move, and I'm excited to see what both of them do now that they're here in Boston.
Dave, adding on to the same question of what do you think of the trade, and to build off of what Rayshawn said, I want to add in a part to this of, do you think that the Boston Celtics organization and us as fans overvalued Kemba Walker when he was signed?
I mean, I think the organization did, because you've always overvalued whoever's contract you're complaining about the most. And the contract we were complaining about the most as a fan base was Kemba's in the offseason, because we all came to the realization that we had absolutely no cap space. So we needed to move Kemba Walker on. That was like basically the only move. And that was going to maybe smart also, but moving Kemba's contract was basically a necessity. It obviously wasn't working out. There was rumors of him not being satisfied with being shopped around after the bubble playoffs. We know how Danny is with like weird injuries, like how he was with Isaiah, where it's like he's just going to try and get an injury liability off the books as fast as possible. As far as what we got back, I completely second everything Rayshawn said. I think there's been an Al Horford shaped hole in this team since he left. I think, yeah, I was upset that he left, but I rationalized it with like, well, we're not going to pay him what Philadelphia's going to pay him. And I'm glad we didn't have to eat the contract that Philadelphia had to eat for Al, because that would have sucked. We could have done a lot of the things we did, over the past few years if we were carrying like an aging Al Horford. When he goes into next season, like not the season we're coming into, but when he goes into the following season, I think his contract like does one of those weird NBA downgrades, and we can all of a sudden like have a shitload of cap space for, yeah, exactly. So like we can all of a sudden have a shitload of cap space for like what is a better free agency than the one we're coming into. So, overall, I give the grade. I give the trade a high grade for that reason. Also very up on Moses Malone, because as you know, I've been banging the fucking drum of trying to get a guy exactly like him for a good year. And I was devastated. I'm sure we all were when we didn't get Miles Turner. I was angry at Danny Ainge when we didn't get Miles Turner, when it turned out that he did get a little greedy with that trade. I think this is a straightforward trade. I think it benefits both teams in different ways. And I think I am actually very happy with Moses Brown, because like Ray said, he's 7'2", and he's all upside. And his last game against the Clippers, he had 7 blocks. I know the Clippers were like resting guys, but one game, 7 blocks, like that's absolutely out of this world. And if he's as good or even 75% as good as we think he is, you can move Rob Williams. You can move him now. So, all upside as far as I'm concerned. I hope they're not done. I hope there's more to do, but yeah, all upside for me.
Yeah, Bobby, you get back a known commodity here in Boston and Al Horford, someone that we like, who he apparently likes it here because that's really all he's been saying since he got traded back to Boston. And you get Moses Brown, who was born in 1999, which makes me feel really old. He's 21 years old. He went to UCLA, and he's had a great start to his career. And something I really like about him is that he played valuable minutes for OKC this season. And that means a lot coming from a guy that is 7'2", because we've seen a lot of big men that are over 7 feet that have his build that do not last very long. And
preach, Malkin, preach, sir. Preach,
well,
sir.
right. I'd also like to add on to Ray's point, though, and the point you're making right now is if you go back and look at all the drafts, which I think we're going to do a little bit later when we talk about the Sixers. If you go back and look at all the drafts the past 6-7 years, there's like 1 or 2 guys that stand out after the 16th pick. So like when you're trading the 16th pick, like that's the 16th pick is a stash to include with incentives with another deal. That's what that is. Like Donovan Mitchell was like the closest one, I think, of the last 6 years. So that you're rarely going to find an absolute gem. I think you know what you're getting with Moses Brown. And I think I think they turn that pick into value.
Yeah. So Bobby, to that end, how do you see this trade from your standpoint? I think we've kind of beat this one to the ground, but bringing back Al Horford and having Moses Brown, now you have a leader and you have a young guy, a big young guy. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
So 3 specific points on this trade of why I love it. First is you see the quote about Brad from Brad as soon as he brought Al back in. Is Al played a critical role both on and off the court during his time in Boston. We're excited to welcome him and his family back. His ability to elevate teammates and his experience and leadership make a great addition. So instantly you have a guy coming in here last year. One of the biggest problems we all saw was effort and defense. He automatically brings such a big presence on the defensive side of the ball and in the locker room. That alone makes it a great trade. But when you look at the Celtics last year, they were top 10 in isolations. Another thing Al Horford can do is he is a master from the top of the key with the ball, man. He's such a good passing big man. And to add that into our offense and taking away someone who's ball dependent, it brings the trade to another level for me. Like, I really feel like Al Horford also has been stuck in basketball hell for 2 years, man. We saw what happened with Blake Griffin. As soon as he got out of basketball hell and went to the Nets and was on a winning team again, it was Blake all over again. I absolutely see something coming like that from Al this year. You know what I mean? He just went from Philly, where he was in the worst possible situation for him, and then he goes to OKC, where it's just garbage. They literally sat him down for the last month because they're like, whoa, Al, you're playing too well. We need to lose some goddamn games, bro. And they sat him down. So, like, elevating that, to me, it's an A+. I love the trade.
I mean, yeah, he definitely showed flashes of the old Al still in OKC last year, which that's encouraging to me because, sometimes, I think, as he looked like an aging star in Philly, he just did. But he wasn't aging. It was that they didn't know how to use him against the Embiid.
They played him so terribly.
That was such a bad basketball situation when they brought him. That's pretty much the reason Elton Brand lost.
They just signed him so we couldn't have him, which is so cruel to the player. That's so shitty to the player to do that. Like that's...
Sure, but I'm not going to sit here and cry about a man getting $109 million.
No, I know you can say that about everything we talk about, though.
no, I'm saying in that regard because it was like, because Philly was killing him.
I'm glad he got paid. I'm glad
he's old. No, I'm saying this is what Philly fans were saying before they signed him. Oh man, Al's washed. Oh, y'all Celtics fans overvalue every player on the team. Blah blah blah. And as soon as they signed him, we got Big Al. Let's go. Da da da. And then Philly fans turn on it very quickly because that's what they do. They're incompetent fans too. But like I said, either way, like the trade was a win-win on both sides, in my opinion. I did want to touch on the question that Joe asked, though. I don't think we overvalued Kemba's contract. I just think obviously it was hindsight's 2020. I guess you could say it was as I put in air quotes, a panning move by Danny Ainge. You couldn't lose. Kyrie and Horford and not get some type of max player in here. And Kemba Walker just happened to be the best guy available, not just from a talent standpoint, but also from a character standpoint. So he came in as a character guy, and we were excited, right? We talked about, man, we got 4 guys coming in, playing for USA. They're going to get the chemistry together, which is something they didn't have in the 2018, 2019 year, and so that they had that right away, right? And like I said, Kemba was an all-star his first year here. We forget that, right? Because of what happened with the pandemic. Kemba was an all-star. Yes, he shouldn't have played in Chicago. We get that for the all-star game. Maybe he should have played maybe 5 or 6 minutes and then sit down. But he was still an all-star. He was still, playing very well next to the Jays. But then, like I said, his health just went south very quickly, right? So that's what happened. But Celtics fans, as you listen to this, I want you to hear me, Dave, Joe, and Bobby clearly. We were not going to have a Gordon Hayward 2.0 situation, Celtics fans. And if you think so, you're out of your mind. We were not going to have that situation again where we're going to keep holding on, just see what he can do. And then he leaves after year 3 or whatever situation may be. So they got something for Kemba. Brad did a good job with that. It's cool. Because people say, but they didn't save that much money. They saved $9 million.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about? Like that's a lot of money.
Sure, and that's what we're going to talk about now, because one thing to add to what you said is that the Boston Celtics fan base is the most forgiving fan base probably in most of the NBA, at least for the big market teams, and it's definitely the most forgiving in the city of Boston.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah, that's.
Oh, I think they're absolutely the most forgiving.
Fans like me, yes, we're the most forgiving fan base in the world. But there's also a whole Celtics Twitter out there that
dark Twitter.
It's the most savage. Like, there's nothing that can be done right to Celtics Twitter. Even Ime Udoka, I saw people trashing that hiring, which we'll get to. But like, there's nothing that people can do right.
Let's talk about the salary cap, because Al Horford comes in. His salary for next year is $27 million. However, only 14.5 of that is guaranteed, 19.5 if they get to the NBA Finals next year. And then in 2020, 2023, what's left is fully guaranteed if the team wins the NBA championship. Now, that was part of his contract with OKC. So, guys, looking at this, and Ray mentioned it, the Celtics saved $9 million or open up $9 million of cap space. With that, they get their big man. They bring in Al Horford, who we've said, he's not going to be the third of a big 3 with Tatum and Brown.
What about Al Horford as a 6th man, though? I think that's he could win 6th man of the year.
Well, Dave, I'll throw this question towards you, because I know you've wanted them to sign back Evan Fournier. And so let's talk about some moves, some out moves that they have to make. And I'm not talking about who they're going to bring in, but who else can they take off this roster or ship away to open up more space? And who would you be comfortable with shipping off?
So I wanted to not take the Evan Fournier contract before we made the trade, because it's like, I think 16 million, but it's only a 1 year, right? It's a 1 year like option or whatever that we inherited for him. So Now I'm thinking to myself, like, I think we might actually be able to compete. And I think that we actually have to shop more pieces. So I think the reason I want Evan Fournier is, and I know talking about Celtics Twitter, it's the room is split on Evan Fournier. I understand this is you got to be careful with this position, because people feel very strongly one way or the other about him. But I think with the makeup of what I'm picturing the team could be going into next season, even though I know we're lining up for a big free agent signing 2 seasons from now, like that seems to be the clear plan, which I'm totally cool with. They've abandoned the idea of like finding a gem in the draft, which is, I'm totally cool with that. Like we got our draft pieces. We got Jalen and we got Jason. Those are the 2 draft pieces you got to build around. You got to go find somebody in the free agency market. I think they should shop Marcus Smart. I know it's a sin to say that in Boston, but I've been saying it to you guys for weeks. And I think that they should shop Rob Williams while he still has value. There are some notable free agents also that you could continue to build this season, like Alonzo Ball type. But I think he's actually going to demand higher money than we should probably sensibly pay. It's in a dream world. I think it'd be great to have Alonzo Ball run the point. But I've been maintaining that this set of wings doesn't play as well with a guard as it does with a good playmaking big man. And I think we're going to see that because they learned with Al Horford. Their first seasons together were with Al Horford. the way that they stretch the floor, the way that they move, waiting on a guard to get open or make space or drive like the way Kemba played and then trying to dish to them is not the way that they play. They need the ball for more clock time.
They play inside out. Yeah.
They play inside out. They need the ball for more clock time than that. And that's a lot of what didn't work. I think as much as Al Horford might be not the same Al Horford, you'll see a lot of those connections like come back up. And then you can start to build from there. Then you can go and get cheaper guards. We've had a cheap front court for the past few seasons. And like, the signings of Tristan Thompson and stuff is just, it's not, it's like, have you ever seen those memes where it's like, oh, the couch I ordered, the couch that came from wish.com. And it's like, this is what it had in the picture. It's like if you have like a Tim Duncan in the picture, but then it's like all blurry. And then you unblur it and it's like, oh, it's Tristan Thompson. God, he's terrible. And it's like, I know he had good games. And I know that like on the offensive boards, he was good against Brooklyn, which was strange that Milwaukee didn't take even more advantage of that after we showed them how easy it was to do. But that's a completely different conversation. But Al's obviously that guy now. You got to get rid of Tristan, I think. So basically overall, to answer your question, the way that we should chop and change is I think we should cheapen the front with the backcourt in favor of the front court. We should build around the two pieces that we just got traded in. That would be my preference. I don't want to overspend on Lonzo Ball, even though I'd love to have him. I think you could have Peyton Pritchard play point guard. I know that's crazy because he's so young, but like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like next year's not like a championship run.
Let's play off of that right now. So again, we're not talking about what they're going to bring in because let's not speculate because we'll get into why we don't want to speculate because we were completely off on the head coach. So let's go.
Actually, I did mention him.
You did, but let's go into the salaries of the two guys that you just mentioned, Marcus Smart and Rob Williams. That's a little over $14 million right there just between those two guys. Marcus Smart is making $12.9. Rob Williams is making $2.029 million. Tristan Thompson is 9.2. If you can, and I'm with you on Marcus Smart, though it seems taboo to say let's get rid of Marcus Smart because Brad loves Marcus Smart. Danny loved Marcus Smart. So let's see what Udoka wants to do with Smart. I think that's part of the reason. Well, we'll get into that, but I'll just tease it by saying I think that's part of the reason why the Celtics jumped at hiring the head coach, the first of the 7 franchises that didn't have a head coach. I think that's part of the reason why they jumped at it, to give him enough time to evaluate the players, whether it's personal or on the court, to give him an idea of what they have. Because Peyton Pritchard can probably play the point, and he's making $2 million. So
I know I was the one that said it about Peyton Pritchard, but I actually don't really think that. Before we get off the topic, though, Bobby wanted to say something about Time Lord, because I know we're going to move on to the coach.
So one thing with Time Lord is, I've been saying this for a while to you guys, is listen, I know this sounds like a pun waiting to happen, but listen, the time to move on from Time Lord is right now. I'm just saying, because this dude is the most injury prone center I've seen.
Injury prone.
Oh, injury prone. We made up a new word for him. That's how injury prone he really is.
No, the injury prune's out.
Yeah. If you don't move on from this,
spends too much time in the ice bath. Yeah, pretty much.
So if you don't move on from this dude right now, like, this is the time, man. If you're ever going to get value for Robert Williams is right now, because he is one turf toe away from missing another 54 games.
There's always injuries like that. And honestly, like, it is always injuries like that. It's not like, oh, he tore his ACL. It's like, his kneecap hurts kind of.
He has a strained knee. Yeah. And you're like, bro, what?
He might be kind of soft.
Like, so it's just a matter of time before he loses every significant value he has.
Ray, do you agree with me that it's redundant to keep him? Because I saw you have a reaction when I said that. Is it redundant to keep him now that we have Moses Brown? Do they do the same thing, except for inexplicably Rob Williams is like 6'9"?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely was Time Lord insurance, and I think that's what Brad Stevens was thinking about. I mean, Brad had been saying from the jump that, hey, we're trying to manage Time Lord's minutes and, just making sure that, he's healthy as possible when we need him to be, need him to give his best when his best is required. But
how long can we do that? You know what I mean? How long can we be like, oh, we're making sure he's healthy?
Well, it's just like, I mean, what I saw in game 1, when he had 9 blocks, it's like, that's what keeps people like us enticed. It's like, oh my God, like this man got 9 blocks in the game.
Robert Williams is ceiling. We've been talking about it for years at this point. It's a great fantasy.
Right. That's what keeps people engaged when it comes to him. But like you said, yeah, you got to sell high, right? But I mean, to have Thompson, Time Lord, Horford and I don't know. Are they keeping Cornet? I don't know if they're keeping Cornet now, but
I don't think so. They don't have to, right? They can just
right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, exactly. So it's just like I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, to me, I think they need to kind of play it, do like a platoon system. I feel like you got to keep all those guys there. Only because your guys are going to miss games. So to me, you have to keep them there in order to okay, if Rob's going to miss 15 to 20, then okay, that's when Horford will start. If Horford needs to rest on a back-to-back because they're not going to play him more than 30 minutes, then that's when Time Lord or that's where Tristan Thompson can start. So, you need each of those guys because like I think Scout said it on one of the early edition shows, Horford at this stage and even Rob Williams, they're not doing nothing with Embiid. Not right now. That ain't happening. If you're facing Embiid in the playoffs,
he's going to be too much for both of them. Yeah. That's not how you beat the Sixers anyway.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways.
True. But it's just he seemed to figure it out is what I'm saying. So,
but to that point, Ray, and to also back to Joe's question, what, the ins and outs of the off season, everybody's in this mode, in this mindset, not us, because we're way ahead of the curve as we are here talking about sports on a podcast, wildly popular podcast where, we don't have to do it right away. It's the Twitterverse that wants you to do it right away. You got all the way up until the trade deadline to see how guys are doing, what's he doing, how's he, going on. Yes, I agree that we don't want to lose Robert Williams' value, but I would argue that you could actually create value with Robert Williams based on what you're saying, right? Where it's you could actually shop him as a really good regular season player, knowing that you can't use him in the fucking postseason because Embiid's just going to eat him alive, and so is Giannis. So you're just shop window, huh? Look how good he is in the regular season. We kept him healthy.
Especially if you manage his minutes and keep him at that high level for a significant amount of time. I completely see what you're saying.
Get Marcus Smart's 3-point percentage up to where we know it can be before it inevitably slumps back down because of ludicrous isolation plays. Just be look, his 3-point percentage is improved. Do you guys want him? Because we know deep down they're not the guys.
So real quick about Marcus before I have the question. Do you think so? As much as I would love to move on from Marcus because I'm sick of all of it. Putting him in a different situation where he is responsible as a point guard and isn't going to be put in a situation to have these heat checks as much as he does. Do you think that I just watching him play basketball all these years, I feel like he has the basketball intelligence and ability to change who he is as a player. If a coach puts him in that situation, it's listen, you're a starting point guard. Your job isn't to shoot anymore.
This is the other half of Celtics Twitter that we were talking about. This is the Marcus Smart can do anything half.
So what do you guys agree with? That's my question.
It's such an ugly offense. If we do that, it just doesn't look good.
I'll answer that though. And then like I said, I know Joe has to move on, but we've seen that though. We've seen him when he's been the starting point guard. I think a couple of years ago when they had that tumultuous season with them losing to Milwaukee, when they put Smart in that starting lineup, and they were 10-10 and they won 8 in a row because he was the guy handling the ball, not Kyrie. They was on fire because it was okay.
Mitigating circumstances.
Tatum, you get here. Brown, you're here. Kyrie, he knows how to maestro when he needs to. But it doesn't happen enough. But he's by far the best playmaker on the team. He's by far. It's not even close. But Tatum and Brown got to get there. That's the thing. It's not a Marcus Smart thing.
I think you saw flashes of Jason Tatum becoming the best playmaker on the team. But yes,
right. But I'm right. But I'm saying, but it can no longer be flashes. It has to be something where we see it on a nightly basis. So I'll leave it at that. So Joe can move on to the next point.
I don't like the idea of Marcus Smart at the point. I really don't. But that's just me.
One thing we've learned here in Boston over the last couple seasons is that you do in fact need a coach in the NBA. And up until today, the Celtics didn't have one for a couple weeks, and now they have one around the NBA. And I know that we have in our show notes here talking about Rick Carlisle ending up going to Indiana, and we'll talk about that as well. Chauncey Billups and Becky Hammon had second interviews with the Portland Trailblazers, and some other coaches are being looked at elsewhere. Not too much talk about Sam Cassell, who we all kind of had as one of our top 2 or 3 candidates to come here to Boston. So they make the hiring. They announce it on the 23rd of June, and it's Ime Udoka, who is up until this season was an assistant with the Brooklyn Nets. He spent a year with Philadelphia, and he spent 7 years with San Antonio. So he's got a lot of years of assistant experience, which is something that we talked about when it came to Chauncey Billups. And then we looked at Sam Cassell and how many years he had as an assistant. And there was rumors going around that they wanted a head coach, that head coach experience. They go with one who doesn't. And here's a little bit about Ime Udoka, who is a very interesting candidate and an interesting hire. He's 43 years old. He's from Portland, Oregon. He's of American and Nigerian descent. And he went to the University of San Francisco and Portland State University. He came out of college in 2000, went undrafted. He played 12 years. Are you just going to read us
his Wikipedia? Let's talk about how he was Greg Popovich's fucking disciple. That's the important part.
We're gonna. I'm
gonna show where he went to grade school.
We're gonna get there. He played 8 seasons in the NBA, including 4 Greg Popovich. So now, Dave, stepping all over my intro to
what's
Greg
his
Popovich.
blood type?
I don't know, because I was going to start talking about him being a Greg Popovich.
What's his favorite candy bar?
But here you are, just stepping all over my intro to it. Jeez. I hope he doesn't do this to Brad Stevens when he's up top talking about what players to bring in. So Ime Udoka, a disciple of Greg Popovich, one of the 2 disciples of Greg Popovich that could have been head coaches of the Boston Celtics. But Dave, what do you think of the hiring of Ime Udoka?
Whoever Greg Popovich wants to send our way, I'll take. He's in my opinion, best head coach in the history of basketball. I think the reason that Greg Popovich is good, Greg Popovich's teams were good, were because of Greg Popovich. I think he was a great talent. I had a great eye for talent, but he could also do a lot with a little. And that makes me think he knows a lot of shit about the game of basketball. So if you worked for him, I think that you are probably a pretty smart guy. He also doesn't seem to suffer fools, Greg Popovich. He doesn't really seem to keep idiots around very long. And I think if you're going to work for this guy for that long, I think that's awesome. So he's young. Like you said, he's 43. So we got a good young GM head coach relationship, fresh blood. And I think players are going to want to come to play for him. And I think the biggest thing is that we got him because Jalen and Jason and Marcus wanted him, because they played under him in that America plays basketball with countries that don't tournament that they did. So that they're going to like him. They're going to like and respect him. So they're going to do what the fuck he says, which has been a problem for the past 12 months. So I think it's a great hire. I think it's, despite his lack of experience, I think he's a high value prospect in the coaching world in the NBA. And I think it's a great hire. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Ray, what are your thoughts on the hiring of Ime Udoka?
Definitely had mixed feelings. I think from a culture standpoint, it makes sense. They took heed to a week ago, saying, hey, random fact, out of 7 coaches that are black, 4 of them are in, still in the playoffs. And, so clearly it meant something to him, right, to have an African-American coach at the helm. So we'll get it out the way. Where I have my reservations. Oh, I'm sorry. And another positive. Shout out to the fact that he's with Nia Long. She is beautiful. But as far as the reservations I have, Pop is the Belichick of the NBA. And you can't name a disciple of him that's done well.
That doesn't necessarily mean he won't.
So let me finish. Let me finish.
But Semi played under him too.
As I was saying,
played under.
Quinn Snyder hasn't got to a conference final. Brett Brown hasn't got to a conference final. Budenholzer has lost in conference final. So that's right. So that's what I'm saying. So it's like you got him. Mike Brown, excuse me, got swept in the NBA finals. So it's like these guys don't produce usually. Now, are we hoping for him to be a Brian Flores? Hopefully, that'd be great. But we don't know that right now. So it's awesome that he got the hire. Once again, he paid his dues. He was assistant coach for 9 years. Yes, I think most of us wanted Cassell. I think we all talked about it. But listen, 9 years, he paid his dues. Like I said, he was the bottom of the barrel type player. He wasn't someone that was a star.
Which usually make for better coaches anyway.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I think that's where it is. You see the game differently. He's able to relate the guy. So Al Horford during his presser said, as we record this on a Wednesday, he talked about how, Udoka, he commands respect, right? And, I was joking with someone about, this, a numerology type thing. So obviously we're looking for Ben 18. Udoka's the 18th coach in our history. So to me, it's time. I feel this is a Bobby type line, so I'm just gonna say it. I'm sure he'll agree. So I think when we win the title, it goes from Mbutu to Udoka.
We already got the name for the book. That's the name for the book about the past 10 years. Oh, I love it. Yes, you're right. The stars are aligning. That matters. You just see the stars align over a coaching choice. And also very impressive that you went from mixed feelings, I don't know, none of those guys, to like, welcome to the era. Welcome now.
What's interesting about your comparison to between Popovich and Belichick is that you mentioned all these disciples of Pop that went on and they haven't done anything, and same thing with Belichick. Sure, but here's the difference. I'll give you one guy, Mike Vrabel, who is doing well, arguably better than Brian Flores. Now he did well, but
he played under him. He didn't coach.
Sure, so did Udoka. Udoka played under Popovich, so that's where I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say he did both.
I want to be wrong, obviously, but I'm saying, but we'll see.
Let's get two things I want to bring up, and one's kind of poking fun at Jay Williams, and one is taking a serious asking a serious question. But first, let's talk about Jay Williams, because this kind of gets back into I'll just say it, the black and white of sports and the black and white of our society right now, is that Jay Williams comes out and says, he tweets out, which I don't even want to get into the tweet that he tweeted out.
I don't even know
afterwards.
about this. What happened here?
So Jay Williams responded to Woj's tweet about the Celtics hiring Udoka, and he said, the first head coach of color for the Celtics, and then a black fist emoji. And even more importantly,
Doc Rivers?
Hang on, he's one talented individual. So, right. So you talk about Jay Williams, and now to me, and Ray, you can follow this up. To me, this is someone just jumping on an opportunity, thinking they're doing something, right? We see this all the time. We see it on social media everywhere, where people are taking these stances and thinking they're doing something. So I want to read you this excerpt from Boston.com, which the columnist writes, Udoka is not the first head coach of color for the Celtics. In 1966, Bill Russell was promoted to player coach, becoming the first black head coach of an NBA team. Russell won a pair of titles in 1968 and 69.
Did Jay Williams not have Google?
Tom Satch Sanders coached the team in 1978. Casey Jones won 2 titles as well in 84 and 86 under friend of the show, Jan Volk, as the general manager. ML Carr coached from 1995 to 1997. ML Carr was also part of that front office with Jan Volk in the 80s. Doc Rivers spent 2004 to 2013 in Boston and led the Celtics to a 2008 title, making Udoka the 6th black head coach in the history of the Boston Celtics and the 18th overall. So, Ray, go ahead.
So it must be that Duke education, right?
Wait, to make it worse, can I add something on to that? To make it worse, not only did he do that, but then he also decided to put out another tweet saying that it wasn't his bad. He didn't make a mistake. His Twitter account got hacked and posted a fact. And instead of something horrible on Twitter, they just posted a wrong fact.
Nobody believes my Twitter account. Nobody believes that my Twitter account got hacked anymore. You can't use that one. It's like the dog ate my homework. It just doesn't work.
I don't know. I mean, and I tweeted something about it yesterday. I said, it's ridiculous that he even went this route. But this is where, and I'm talking about the Sean Kings of the world, not the guy that played for Tampa. I'm talking about the one that thinks that he's nice, that he's a new black guy. But once again, we're not going to get political tonight. I'm gonna chill. To me, it's just like, bro, like. You have to know better. Like, once again, Jay, you was born in the 80s, my guy. It wasn't like you was, you're this new millennial that didn't know that they didn't have a coach before that. Like, and even then, once again, Dave said it best. Google is your friend, sir. Like, how do you not know? Once again, and my thing is, you've been a part of special where they've talked about Bill Russell, they've talked about Satch Sanders, they've talked about ML Carl, like talking about especially Casey Jones because he was there with
I mean, Doc Rivers was just a second ago. Doc Rivers was just. Doc Rivers won a championship here. Like
Brad Stevens replaced a black coach.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Right.
You don't even need Google. You just need to have been watching basketball for the past 10 years.
Yeah, you shouldn't even need Google. You should just need like a TV. to know,
Bobby, not to stray away from sports, but this is what happens when what I said in the open, where people blindly listen to talking heads. They don't actually do their own looking up and their own research to see. They just hear what Kyrie Irving said 3 weeks ago.
What was the over under on Joe mentioning Kyrie Irving? I feel like it's the over. You did good this time. That took a while.
But Ray, so I'm going to go to Ray here, but like we look at this situation and it really is just someone hearing something and thinking that's what it is, that he's automatically, because Boston, which we talked about this on a previous show, that Boston was painted in a very racist light, which it is a race. It has a history of issues in race relations. The 1971 busing issue. There's so many problems in this city. Our teams, we've had players in the past. Kyrie Irving talking about Boston the way he did. He's not the first one to do that. Barry Bonds refused to come and play for Boston. There was a chance for Barry Bonds, Torrey Hunter, which I'm still mad at the city of Boston, or at least the fans that were attacking Torrey. I mean, Torrey Hunter is one of the nicest guys in the world, and he's an incredible player. So what do you, anyway, before getting into that, so this isn't a new issue, but it's one that seems to be rehashed, Ray, and it's one that seems to not erase history, but people forget about the history, whether good or bad.
Right, but it's not with the Celtics. Like, Chuck Cooper was the first black player, and guess who drafted him? The Celtics in 1950. Like, Red Auerbach put on the best product. It didn't matter if he was black, white, Latino, Asian. It didn't matter. If you could play, your ass was going to be on the court. And those dusty ass Chuck Taylors, they were playing it. Like, you were going to be out there playing if you produced. That's what he did. There's a reason why, like I said, his success was tied to Bill Russell, which is why he said, hey, listen, I'm done. I'm going to step down. You take over. You're the man here. You're the reason why that we've had success. And it's funny, Bill Russell also went to USF as well. He went to University of San Francisco as well, won national title there too. So it all comes back together, right? But it's crazy though. And like I said, Jay Williams, and it's not just, there's plenty of Jay Williams out there who just want to, keep inciting about what the city does and doesn't do. Listen, the Jim Rice stuff is very real. The Adam Jones stuff was very real.
Bill Russell stuff is
the Bill Russell stuff is very real. But once again, and I said this on another segment I did on a different show, but Kyrie Irving did not experience what those guys experienced here. I'm sorry. Like, the worst thing he experienced is what happened at the end of that game, which is someone threw a water bottle.
Shouldn't have happened.
Right. Yeah, of course not. Right. That was ridiculous. So I'm glad that person got taken care of. But you don't you don't come in there and say, hey, I'm gonna stay here for another year, and this is a place that you can't stand. That's BS. Come on. He said, like I said, I don't want to keep rehashing it, but he said that so he didn't want to get booed. That's all it was. It wasn't about, you made a semi-true statement just so you could get the heat off you. But it's like, yo, come on.
He had been putting that off for a year and a half too, so it's not like something.
Yeah, but just he could have just kept burning the stage and sit your ass down. Like, it's not that deep, bro.
But that's the point I'm making is, why wait a year and a half till you're playing the Celtics in the playoffs and not say it when you walked out the door? He refused to play in the Garden before COVID happened, and he would not play in the Garden, and then all of a sudden he comes back. And he starts up this whole new storyline like he hasn't been in the building. He hasn't been in the building because he made those decisions not to play in front of the fans of Boston, and then didn't have a choice when it happened in the playoffs. But he could play in the preseason and the regular season at the beginning of the 2020-2021 season because nobody was allowed in the building. So he didn't give a shit then. But then all of a sudden he's got to take the heat off himself. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Ray, right? He brought up something that's true, not false statements, but also something he didn't experience. And the most experience he had was something that one of them experienced, was when he sat down with Bill Russell, and Bill Russell told him exactly what happened to his home, which is still a travesty. And the people that
Can I just actually, if we're going to go back to Udoka, can I do one Kyrie thing? I think we give Kyrie entirely too much fucking bandwidth in the city of Boston. Like, it's if that was your girlfriend and you guys broke up and we all talked this much about the fucking girl that like left us, people would be like, that's fucking sad. You need to get over it. It's over. The Kyrie's gone. He shouldn't be able to get a rise out of us like he was able to get out of us as a fan base. We should be like, dude, Kyrie, we're bigger. The Boston Celtics are bigger than Kyrie Irving. Every time he can get us get in the headlines about talking about the city of Boston. And I agree that it's dumb and wrong. And I agree that what Jay Williams said was dumb and wrong. But anytime he can get in the headlines talking about us, stomping on Lucky, getting us all riled up, collectively as a fan base, we need to appreciate that the Celtics are huge and Kyrie Irving is tiny. And we need to just he's living rent free in our heads, you guys. We got to get him out.
Can Ray, I want to ask you a question and kind of transcend sports and Ray and some of these things, but Dave just mentioned Kyrie stepping on the logo, Lucky the Leprechaun at center court at the Garden. Do you feel as though, taking out the history of the Celtics, because I think I know what your answer is going to be here because of how you just went through the history of the Celtics very eloquently. You are a teacher of the youth, and you do understand how to look at things critically. Do you think that the Boston Celtics having a white mascot is, I don't want to say racist, but do you think that that's a problem?
It won a race. We got all these 17 championships. No,
yeah, right.
Listen. This is our city, and not to steal with David Ortiz. This is our city. This is our team. And once again, I got to go back to Sean King because his ass is he's just dumb. This is our team too, Sean King. Just because I'm black doesn't mean I don't identify with the Celtics. If there's anybody on this show that identifies with the Celtics, it's me more than anybody else. Like I love the Celtics more than any other Boston team, hands down, and ain't even close.
The reason I ask is because if you look at the reason why teams are named what they are, right? And we could do a whole show on mascots and why teams are named, right? If you look at the Boston Celtics, it's an Irish. Dave would know better than me, but it's from Ireland, and the majority
the mascot's
of
more insulting to Irish people than it is to fucking black people.
Sure. No, absolutely, right.
So if I was going to speak on it at all. Yeah, I will say this though. I will say this in more practical terms, like whatever about the fucking mascot. Nobody in Boston is going to listen to people talk about the fucking mascot, but it's a good point to bring up because I am actually kind of glad we didn't hire a white coach. Only because, like, just if I was working in the PR department at the Boston Celtics, I'd be like, look, Jaylen Brown, very active in his community, very vocal about his feelings about police brutality, very very open and speaks very intelligently on the subject, and like has become kind of an icon in the activist community as far as like basketball players go. He says, I would like, basically in no uncertain terms, I would like a black man coaching the Boston Celtics. Also, Kyrie says that shit about Boston. We know why he says it, as much as you or I know that it's not true, because Ray makes the very good point that inside the Celtics organization has never proved to be in any way racist or biased against black players. Agreed. But it's very easy in like the public eye to draw a parallel from the city of Boston to the Boston Celtics to say it sucks. It sucks that it's playing there because people are racist. And you and I and Joe and Bobby, who are Celtics fans, go like, here's the billion reasons why that's stupid. But the vast majority of NBA fans are going to go like, oh yeah, I think Boston is kind of racist, and then just forget about it and not think about it anymore. Because you only need to make points in tiny 180 character tweets.
They've never been outside their four walls. They're going to talk about a city they've never been in. That's ridiculous.
That's all fine. That's a joke. I understand that it's not right, but it's the case. So it is what it is. That people are like that. That's just like how fucking people are. I know that they're wrong, but there's a reason Kyrie said it, because he can draw that parallel. He can affect that similarity in people's minds that aren't going to give it as much thought as you and I would.
Right.
So for me, I was like, just for optics, I think you should go get the best man for the job or woman for the job. Of course. Like, yes, no problem. But just on the optics side, I was like, please don't bring a fucking white guy to be under the white GM. So under the white GM with the shit that's being talked about in the media right now, with the mascot shit some people might bring up, like, it's just not a good look. That's all.
So Bob, Dave mentioned, and this is Dave mentioned Brown, like Jaylen Brown. If he goes to management and says, "Hey, I'd really like a black coach," there are reports that have come out in the Boston media and nationwide that the Boston Celtics players who are predominantly black, the roster is a majority of them are black, have said that they did not connect with Brad Stevens. They didn't connect with the Midwestern white guy. What a surprise. So that they would be more comfortable with a black head coach. So they went out and did that. Now, Dave, to go off your point about talking about the best person for the job. The only white person on the list of people that were the best, quote unquote, for the job was Becky Hammon. So I think that either way, they were going to go out and get Becky Hammon, Carol Lawson, Sam Cassell, Ime Udoka, Chauncey Billups. That's what they were going to go and do. And maybe he isn't the best guy for the job, but we don't know that. We won't find out. But because
they think he is, they hired him.
Sure.
So
Right, exactly. And that's what matters most, right? And he's a pop disciple, which we all love. So, Bobby, what are your thoughts on Ime Udoka?
Thank you. So I just think he is the best man for the job. Like when you look through his coaching experience, I know that they valued head coaching experience, but I don't think it was just head coaching experience they valued. I think they valued just straight coaching experience and being able to connect to these players to a point where, listen, this dude was hired by Brooklyn. Steve Nash went to Brooklyn, and within the first 2 days of being there, brought this dude in because he's like, I want Udoka to connect with Durant, with Harden, with Kyrie, and just brought a different atmosphere to that team. So I love this hire, especially because of the fact, I have to point out, he was in Philly for one goddamn season, and then was like, you know what, guys? I need to get the fuck out of here and bounce. So to me, that just sounds like a smart basketball man to me, because he saw the dumpster fire before it happened, left them to go to this Brooklyn team, barring injury, we're walking to the NBA Finals. So it's such a good hire to me. And I think, too, what he brought, the level of playmaking we saw from KD this year, I think that's something that we're going to look at with Tatum moving forward. And I think Udoka is a guy to bring him there.
So Ime Udoka hired as the new Boston Celtics head coach. And as Bobby just alluded to, the team that he came from were the Brooklyn Nets. And I agree with you, Bobby. I think that he's going to get the best out of Jason Tatum. I honestly think he's going to get the best out of everybody, because as Ray and Dave, we all really said it during the season, Brad Stile doesn't get the best out of each individual player. Brad Stile was a very team-oriented style, and you couldn't really let those guys fall out as much as they should be allowed to. And you're probably going to get that with Udoka's style, because he did come from Brooklyn and he has come from playing and coaching in San Antonio. But that team that he just came from, the Brooklyn Nets, are out of the playoffs. I called it. I have to throw it out on the podcast. I called it. I said that Kyrie would get hurt and the Nets would be out. Now, granted, I had them finishing out of the playoffs in the regular season. I was right.
You said Kyrie would fuck up the chemistry. That's not what happened.
No, but I said he would get hurt. I did say that.
How can you predict that? He rolled his ankle.
Because he always gets hurt. What do you mean?
He rolled his ankle.
Is he injury prone now?
No.
Joe, so
I don't think so. I don't think he's injury prone. I just think it happened. So anyway,
that lower body, man, it's breaking down.
2015, he gets hurt in game one, right? And then he comes here to Boston, plays 50 some odd games. Has knee surgery to end his season here in Boston. Early in his career, hurts his face. He has to wear a mask, breaks his wrist in Cleveland. Like, he's had injuries all over. It's like you're playing operations with this man. Like, it's ridiculous. So he's definitely injury prone. Now, was he motivated? Sure. He was definitely motivated. And a motivated Kyrie was a scary Kyrie, because him and KD looked really good together. And I think if those two guys were healthy, then it definitely would have been a different outcome. But like I said, Milwaukee at the end of the day did just enough. Kevin Durant had a masterful series, a couple of masterful performances that we'll never forget. I was super hurt to see Jeff Green play like this, because I'm like, well, damn, where the hell was this when you was in Boston? Now, granted, I know
one game.
No, but still, but the one game was phenomenal, and it's one of what he did here in Boston in the playoffs. So I was hurt to see that, honestly. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, man, Milwaukee just survived. And that's what it was. And you
centimeters away from losing that series, like less.
Oh yeah.
Less.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if his shoe size different, then who knows what would have happened. But
if the 8-year-old that made the shoe used like a slightly piece of rubber that day,
yes, Dave alluding to the sweatshops in China. Yes,
And Indonesia, other places, Joe, not just China.
Indonesia, Taiwan, whatever.
Vietnam too. Yeah, Vietnam.
Yeah, you know.
So now, all right. So before we go off on that tangent, because we could all have our opinions on that nonsense too. And I say nonsense.
Roundly negative opinions on that.
I feel like that nonsense.
Listen, there's two sides to the child labor argument, guys. Okay.
No, I mean, we're all going to be.
I'm just saying, companies are like people.
The bottom line is the bottom line. You know what I mean? Like,
Jesus.
That's the clip right there.
If Mike was here, I think Mike might take that side just to see if he could win.
Oh,
that.
God.
Oh, he absolutely would. But let's
bring us back.
New segment on the show, out of context.
God.
All right.
Oh my God.
So is them getting bounced from the playoffs because they were plagued by injuries? Do they have deeper issues? Does Harden's injuries explain his numbers? So 3 questions for you there.
I have to speak up on Harden. Listen, I was the first man to trash him from day one. I did not want him here. I didn't want anything to do. The slack that he caught for his Game 7 performance to me is unfair. I know it wasn't the best performance ever. But listen, this dude was playing on one leg, and he was playing significant minutes on one leg. And when you look at people like, oh, well, then he shouldn't have played. What the hell else did they have? He didn't have a choice. When you look at what that team actually had, after losing Dinwiddie, they had no bench. But when I say no bench, I mean they legitimately did not score a bench point in that Game 7. Isn't that a fact? Not one bench point. So, like, who else are you going to put in this dude's situation? You're going to put Joe Harris, who cut his three-pointing percentage from 50 to 22 in the playoffs? I just didn't see a significant upgrade over even a 5 for 17. James Harden was going to give you better minutes than the Joe Harris we saw in those last 2 games or the Jeff Green we saw in those last 2 games. I just thought, like, listen, yes, the dude's not 100%. He's definitely not the James Harden that we saw earlier. And yes, it does bring back parallels to him blowing those Houston series. But to me, it just had such a different feel. Right? I know the look on your face.
No, you just went against your own point at the end there. You just said it brings up what he did in Houston. 5 for 17 is something he would have did anyways. He's done this when it's mattered. And yes, now I gave him credit. The Game 5 was a very gutsy performance. For him to play 42 minutes, coming back basically cold turkey, and he only had 5 points, 6 assists, and like 8 rebounds. Like that to me, his Game 5 performance was much better than the Game 7, right? Because I feel like to play 42 right away was just crazy. 22, 9, and 9 is not awful, but once again, when you're 2 and 12 from 3, and then you're 5 and 17 from the field overall, that is a problem. And you're not, and once again, this is on Steve Nash, right? We had a huge argument about Steve Nash early on the show that we also put that back in the show notes as well, but he was handpicked, but Steve Nash got exposed when it mattered, y'all. Steve Nash got exposed. You cannot play guys 40
with any of this. I'm sorry. It's
okay. I wasn't finished with the point though, but it's like this is the thing. He played. You can't play 42 minutes, 48 and 53. You got to spot guys minutes. So Mike James, who they signed late in the year, Mike James has been hooping for them. Coming over from Europe. You're not telling me he can't give you 8 to 10 minutes, even if he doesn't score, but just to give guys a break where they could come back in the fourth and then do something like Mike James, Tyler Johnson. There's guys on it that could have gave them 5 to 7 minutes. I'm not saying you have to come in there and hold the lead and go at 15 because that wasn't happening. Joe Harris was like Larry Bird against us. I get it. He faded away, quicker than midnight on in the second round. I get that. However, you have to find minutes to rest guys. You cannot play guys 48, 49, 50 minutes and then expect them to still have gas when it matters. That's not happening.
So once again, it's more on Harden. He's more on Nash than Harden.
Yeah, it's on Nash. But even with Harden, like once again, we've seen 5 or 17 whether he's been healthy or not. That's all I'm saying. Once again, he's been great. He's been great since he got to Brooklyn, and I won't shy away from that because I'm the one that said he should have been here. Me and Dave agreed on that. But this is something we've seen. So this is not something where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that type of performance happened because we saw it happen.
So many mitigating circumstances, though. It's like Jared Allen goes down at the start of the season, so that like fucks up your depth.
Well, they trade him.
Yeah, but they traded him because he was going to be fucking done, right? Like he got a bad injury, didn't he? I thought whatever, it doesn't matter. Jared Allen goes, right? I think that screws up your depth. Steve Nash comes in and he goes like, okay, I'm probably going to get a year to make these, get these 3 guys playing well. And he does it in like 3 months. He has them fucking cooking as like the best offense in the entire NBA in like 3 months. And like we rightly gave him credit for it. How does it make sense that Kyrie Irving, your star point guard, goes down, and James Harden is playing on one leg. How is that all of a sudden Steve Nash's fault? They had nobody. They had nobody to play. Like, what else was he supposed to do? Like, what would you have done instead?
I mean, I just said it. Like, you have to give guys 8 to 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm not going to run guys into the ground and just say, well, damn, we didn't have a choice.
They said the whole thing about the Harden injury was that he needed to play on it because it gets really tight. That was the whole thing. They were like, you got to give that injury more minutes. If he's going to play, he might as well play 40 minutes. That's what all the health science guys were saying.
So 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Okay. The man played 53 in the final one. 53.
Well, yeah, but it's not his fault they went into overtime. I mean,
no, but I'm saying you don't tell me you can't give this man 1 or 2, and you give him the heating pad on the side. They got come on, man. These guys are come on, man.
Steve Nash is like, I was a great player, so now I look at this guy. He's like, I would have played.
Right. So yes, I'm glad you went there, Dave, because I agree with you on that point there. Steve Nash was still coaching like a player, and that's what cost him. You can't be out there, well, hey, you just got to be a warrior.
I don't know if he was coaching.
I don't know if that's what cost him, because we just talked about how he was a half a centimeter away from burying it. KD was putting on a fucking historic.
You cannot run guys into the ground, fellas. Y'all know this. I don't know why y'all going against me on this. Like, you cannot run guys into the ground. That's what happened. You have to rest guys. You can't do that. Not in basketball. You can't do that. I'm sorry.
I'm going against you putting the responsibility of the Brooklyn Nets losing on Steve Nash when we just went through talking about how we were a centimeter away from KD hitting a ludicrous circus shot, turnaround 3-pointer. We're a centimeter away from him sending a team that on paper at that point should be beating the shit out of them, that have fucking Giannis and fucking all these other pieces all 100% healthy. And they should be winning on paper, and they almost got him out. How is that Steve Nash's fault? I don't understand. He coached a great offense all season.
Who said that Harden was run into the ground?
No, I'm saying Harden, mainly Kevin Durant, not Harden. I'm saying mainly KD.
You needed KD to step up. You need
no. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, there's a difference between the shot that he hit to tie the game in 109, right? And then that overtime shot, he was gassed as hell, right or wrong.
Yeah, that
okay.
Was,
so that's what I'm saying.
You can't game plan thinking you're going to go into OT. That's ridiculous. You can't go, well, what if we go to OT?
No, it's before then. It's before then, guys. It's not about what happened after. It's revisionist history. You have to find.
You're the one who brought up what happened after.
No, but I'm saying that because he got gas is what I'm saying. You're not listening to me.
If you sit him for 8 to hang on, if you sit him for 6 to 8 minutes, let's say 6 to 8 minutes, not even that long.
Not even that long.
If you give him 4 to 6 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, fine. What happens in those 2 to 3 minutes that turns that game around?
Milwaukee wasn't scoring though, Joe. They wasn't scoring.
But maybe that was because Durant was on the floor.
I mean, he wasn't defending. Not at that point. I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, Joe. No, but remember, they only scored one basket. Remember, they only scored once. They was going back and forth.
Wait, Milwaukee or Brooklyn?
I can't remember who scored, but go ahead, Joe.
We are talking about revisionist history. In Dave's defense, you did bring it up. But that's the point. That's all we can do is talk about revisionist history because it is in the past, and the Bucks won the series and they've moved on.
No, but I'm like that regardless, though. You got to give guys rest. That's where I'm at. It's not about revisionist history. Regardless, you got to give guys rest. I'm not running guys into the ground. It doesn't matter who it is.
One last revisionist history. That last shot, man, I know KD is a freak of nature. I know. But that shot, man, was the most mind-boggling KD shot I've ever seen.
The play broke down.
I know. But listen, play breaks down. KD, you're the best at the rim I've ever seen.
Hit that exact same shot.
I know. But you're down 2.
Yep.
You are down 2, and there is no time left on the
clock. No, but I don't have an issue with that shot because at that moment you have to end the game. You have to end the game. I get it.
If Tatum puts that shot, maybe Dave
would have cussed him out on those.
We all
what are
you
fucking doing, Tatum?
He took a 30-footer. He's not Kevin Durant yet. He's not. Kevin Durant earned the right to shoot that shot.
All right, so here we go. So we're going to do this. It doesn't matter who you are in sports. The biggest thing about it is that if you're basically what I'm hearing there, Bobby, is you think that was a bad shot selection. It's a bad shot, right? It should have been.
Was the one selection. That sent them to OT though.
And Ronald Acuna Jr. for the Atlanta Braves the other night forgot that there was one out and got doubled off of first base on a.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yikes! Yeah.
When he thought so, I mean, we're talking about athletes that are at the top of their game, that are in a high pressure situation. And we all talked about how KD was kind of the guy, right? He had to step up because Kyrie was out.
So, I absolutely agree with Ray that he was gassed. And that's why that shot looked the way that it is. But I just don't think you can go like, I don't think you can go like, oh, I better sit Kevin Durant for a few minutes and like give up.
No, but like Joe said though, Joe said 2 to 3. I'm no 6 to 8 minutes. That's a joke. That's hell no. I ain't doing that. But just 2 to 3 where it's like, okay, I'm gonna give him 30 seconds.
There was like no minutes. There was like no minutes in that whole series after Kyrie went down. There was like no minutes in that whole series after Kyrie went down where KD wasn't the most productive player on the floor. There was not one single minute that passed where he played where he was not the most fucking productive player on the floor. So you can't bench him. You just can't. Not in crunch time.
So I felt like that in game 5. Like, I'm like, yo, he has to play because Milwaukee was up 16. Like, he's just.
You were even saying like, oh, we're going OT. Fucking Brooklyn's got this.
That's Brooklyn 100%. For sure. I'm that's in game 7. I'm saying game 5. I agree with you. Like game 5, they needed Nash. They all saw he needed it. Fine, 49, 17 to 10. I'm with you. I'm just saying in that game 7 when you're gonna have to find stuff. You have to find stuff.
Here's what I was thinking they should have done if he was going to rest him at all. He should have fucking benched everybody for game 6 from the start and not let them on the fucking floor. Got 100%. Them an extra fucking day. That series was going to 7. And I thought it, and Bobby 100%. Said it was like a thing. Just everybody gets rest. And then they win game 7 hands down.
They would have won by 20, yeah. They would have won by 20 points. Facts.
They should have put up 50 threes in game 6. 50 threes in game 6. We're like, listen, if we hit our threes, we win. Run. If not,
nobody runs.
Facts.
We're going to play that game that we used to play in gym class where you can only take 2 steps and then you can throw it. That's how we're playing basketball for all of game 6. Nobody run.
So now that the Brooklyn Nets are out of the playoffs, the NBA semifinals, the Bucks and Hawks and the Clippers and Suns, but 3 of the best players in the NBA, arguably the 3 best players in the NBA, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, are now out. What does that do for the NBA in your mind, Dave?
All y'all fucking green teamers with your fucking anti-Kyrie chants. And I was trying to tell you that the playoffs would suck if the fucking Nets got bounced out. Ray, I don't include you in this, but everybody else, everybody's like, fuck Kyrie. The Nets need to lose. And the playoffs in the East are shit now. The Bucks Hawks series is not interesting because the Bucks are going to lose because they like basically got lucky in the last series. I mean, I guess the Trae Young stuff is interesting. Like, it's cool that he's better than we all thought. And he's like pretty much elite now if he can keep it up. But maybe the Bucks are just not that good. I don't know. I'm just saying we lost 3 stars in the playoffs. That sucks. I know everyone hates Kyrie, but like it makes the playoffs worse.
I have a counterpoint to that is that the Atlanta Hawks are one of the funnest basketball teams I've maybe ever
They're
watched.
Playing the Bucks, dude. I just watched the whole series with the Bucks. They're so miserable.
Ever since McMillan took that team over, though, that team is just so fun, man. And to see Trae Young, DK, you said it in the chat earlier, it really is shades of early Curry, man. That's what he looks like when he's confident in shooting like he is.
How cool would it have been to see him play Durant and Kyrie and Harden, though?
Well, facts. That's true. That would have been amazing. All right. That's true. But to see a dude, like, regardless of who he's playing, to see a dude evolve from the scorer on a bad team who puts up points because he has to I'm going to put this team on my goddamn back and shimmy in your face before I hit a big-time 3 is just, man, it's basketball porn to me. I love watching Trae Young play. I've loved him since Oklahoma. I picked them to go to the Final Four. He disappointed the shit out of me. So, like, I've always had this mantra of, like, Trae Young, man, he's great, but, like, he can't do it when it matters. But that last game, man, it was special to watch. I love watching.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. I'm a fan. I have a joke with my friend Brandon. We have a new death row, and we have Trae Young as a part of that. Trae Young is phenomenal. He was special last night. He's been special all playoffs. I'm not in that line of like, oh, just because LeBron and other guys are out there, I'm like, oh my God, the playoffs are ruined. No way. It's parity being shown. It's not an automatic victory because nothing in the NBA is absolute. The only year that's been like that is when Durant first went to Golden State and everyone knew that Golden State was winning. Other than that, it's not a guarantee that you're going to win a championship just because you're healthy. I can't get with that. I don't agree with that, I should say. I love what Trae Young's doing. I love what Devin Booker's doing. Chris Paul's, I believe, is coming back tonight for game 3. So I'm excited to see that. And like I said, Phoenix is a great story. The Clippers being down 0-2 in every round, but like they are now, can they make a comeback? I want to see if they can, right? So there's still other storylines there. And, as far as Nate McMillan goes, we talked about him once again earlier on in the podcast too, right? About coaches getting raw deals, right? And he was someone that got a raw deal in Indiana, right? Now, I know Joe's going to bring up the Carlisle thing in a minute, but, McMillan was doing his thing in Indiana. They was perennial 4 or 5 seeds in the East, So I'm just like, it goes from that he goes there, they remove Lloyd Pierce, which thank God, even though he's a brother, I'm glad they didn't hire Lloyd Pierce. Like, I might have, like, oh my, I don't even want to say what I was about to say, but it would have been, I would have had a nice rant on Twitter if they had hired Lloyd Pierce. The only Pierce we acknowledge is Paul Pierce. And I'm sorry, that's just that I have to say about that. But yeah, there's still plenty of storylines left in this playoffs, and I've been entertained to say the least. And I'm excited to see what this.
That was going to be my point, is that you still have Trae Young, you still have Giannis, you still have Paul George, Chris Paul. It's kind of
Paul
Devin
George.
Booker. But
Paul George stinks.
David, he does stink, but it's a fun storyline because he
fucking sucks. Did you see those free throws the other night? He's a fucking.
I can't believe he missed that though. I can't believe that.
Oh, I can't.
Like he just hit a big shot. He just hit a big shot, and then I'm like, damn.
Game. That's the thing about Paul George is he'll have like a decent game, and then he'll like fuck it up hilariously.
But that's what's fun about what the 4 teams left.
I want him to. I agree with you, Joe. I want him to stay in the playoffs because I love when Paul George is in the playoffs because you get so many funny jokes happen when Paul George plays playoff games. It's hilarious.
So going with that narrative and how Dave talks about the Bucks, we know that Dave thinks that the Hawks and the Suns are going to meet in the NBA Finals. Bobby and Ray, who do you think is going to the Finals?
Hawks and the Suns. That's what I want. That's 100% the series I want to see.
Yeah. Let's just see point guards play against each other. Like,
bro, I love fucking point guards. I love point guards.
Yeah, but you get in trouble when you fuck point guards, though, Bobby. So I know you love fucking point guards, but you got to stop.
Well, it's a good thing to do.
And Rayshawn.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix is going to the finals, and I think that it's going to be Milwaukee and Phoenix. I just feel like that's what's going to happen. The NBA needs Giannis to get there. Like, it's not Trae's time yet. Like, Giannis is the guy. He's back-to-back MVPs. He's the guy they need to see in this spot.
Did he diminish a little bit in your eyes watching him play with Durant on the same court 7 games in a row?
A little, because it was just like, I like how he responded though in game 6 or 7. Now it's Middleton that's been pissing me off because Middleton, to get paid the money he gets paid, and I'm like he contract at all, but he constantly comes up small playing next to Giannis. It's like, bro, if you gave 25 a night like you can, Milwaukee would moonwalk to the finals. Oh my God, they would moonwalk. They would moonwalk to the finals, but they don't because he doesn't
Giannis
play well.
Is the reason why he has that contract.
Right, but it should have been 178, Joe. I'd have given him maybe 115.
It doesn't matter, Ray. How do you think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee? They're going to pay whoever he wants to pay, and they're going to keep his brother on the.
No, but he's not the normal. He's not the new day star the way people think. Like, I think that he's someone that would have signed in Milwaukee regardless, as he did. He resigned, and once again, most people are now walking from $247 million. Like, let's make that clear.
I wouldn't walk from $247.
Yeah. Right, you feel me? So that's what it is. So that's what it really is, first and foremost. And then once again, him and Giannis, I think him and Middleton came in. No, Middleton got drafted the year before. So I mean, they essentially grew up together in the league. I get it, but I mean, I get it. People are not moonwalking and coming to Milwaukee. Well, they ain't moonwalking to Miami either. But they ain't moonwalking to Milwaukee either. The only person they moonwalking to see up there is Aaron Rodgers. We all know how that situation is going up there. But yeah, man. I don't know, but Giannis definitely took a step back. I agree with you, DK.
So wait, I have a question about Giannis though. So Middleton, to me, I don't know if it's just me. I feel like he's not the right player to play with Giannis. I feel like Giannis needs a sharpshooter. And if Giannis had a guy who was shooting 50% from 3, like a Joe Harris, or not Joe Harris is a bad example.
He was there though. He was there in Milwaukee. That's the funny.
So, but I'm just saying, like, if there was you know what I mean? I don't want to say it's Steph Curry, but like a Trae Young as his sidekick, or like someone who shot like that, I feel like it would be so much better than Chris Middleton. I can't think of someone off the top of my head.
I mean, we saw it in the All-Star game. That's why he keeps playing with Steph. He wants to go there.
I just don't think a slasher is the right guy to play with Giannis because Giannis already is a slasher in his own regard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Quick in and out, like he's not super quick in and out like Kevin Durant can be. Where he's like uses. That
no one's Kevin Durant, but I mean,
I understand, but that's the kind of guy that can play with anybody. Like you need to. I see Bobby's point. If we're talking shit about the Milwaukee Bucks, though, the abortion of fucking basketball that was PJ Tucker running around for 7 games against the fucking Brooklyn Nets, like it was like I was taking fucking crazy pills.
they're
I would
so
wake up every day.
undisciplined.
I would
They're
wake
such
up,
an
dude. I would wake up
undisciplined
every day the next day to the media being like, that PJ Tucker, gutsy performance against Kevin Durant. I'd be like, he put up 2 points and Kevin Durant hung like 49 on him. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like PJ Tucker, he looked like exactly like I would look if I was playing a professional basketball game in the NBA. Just like, I'm gonna keep up. But
the reason why people are saying that, and I agree why they said it was a gutsy. See, this is my thing, right? And this is back to Giannis, right? Giannis, if you are the defensive player of the year, right, you gotta be on Kevin Durant. Even if it's barbecue chicken alert all day, which is gonna be, it's gonna be barbecue chicken. He's gonna be on the grill. You know, you get some of that sweet baby Ray sauce on there. I get it. You got to guard that.
But you know that Kevin Durant can cook you every single day.
right. Not a sponsor, but hey, man, listen, it is. It's great. It's phenomenal. But you got to guard that, man. I'm sorry, you got to.
I wanted to be the Bucks and the Suns because I think Phoenix against Milwaukee just has NBA like record-breaking numbers, TV numbers written all over it. Plus, the Bucks have Andover, Massachusetts' own. I like to drop him in any show I can. Pat Connaughton, former Notre Dame Fighting Irishman. Yeah, we want to get. Hey, the message has been sent, but. You know, so now that we've talked about the NBA, and we're unfortunately not going to get to the 76ers part, Dave. I think we're gonna put that off till the next show.
I'm surprised.
I mean, you wrote the whole write-up, so you did a good job. We've gotten to just about everything.
I figured that we wouldn't get to it. It's fine.
But one of the biggest things that's been going on in sports is the defensive lineman from the Las Vegas Raiders, Carl Nassib. We're totally switching gears from the NBA here. Carl Nassib of the Vegas Raiders came out as gay, offered support from teammates and coaches and different personnel from around the sports world. The outpouring of support for Carl Nassib has been amazing. And just since we won't play the video on the podcast, I do want to read the transcript of what he said. I loved this video. I loved his message. And it was kind of funny how he started it. He's like, hey, just wanted to take a moment to say I'm gay. And it was just like, it was so casual the way he said it. So it starts off, I just wanted to take a moment to say I'm gay. I just think that representation and visibility is so important. I actually hope that videos like this one day are not necessary. But until then, I'm going to do my best in my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting and that's compassionate. Then he added that he would be donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project, a nonprofit group that focuses on suicide prevention efforts among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning youth. And he said, sadly, I've agonized over this moment for the last 15 years, something that no one should have to deal with. And I loved the line that he said, and a lot of people don't say, a lot of celebrities don't say this when they do come out, is that I hope videos and announcements like this don't have to be made in the future, and that it's just accepted and it doesn't matter who you are sexually, but who you are as a person. And for someone to have to agonize over that for 15 years is something that shouldn't be happening. So guys, what does this mean for the league? Carl Nassib, do we think he'll face hate speech from other players, from coaches, from fans? What do we think is going to happen?
I mean, I think it's generationally. I think that the NFL's grown up a lot. I think the kids that are playing in the NFL now, like, you know, they're younger than us, and I feel like we were a pretty like accepting generation for the most part. Like maybe that's just bias where we grew up, but I feel like it was never an issue for me, for like my friends to like, you know, interact with gay people or lesbians or whatever, or like play sports with them. So I would think the kids now, like they're even younger than us, like they're in their early 20s and like they've had the internet and iPads the entire time, and they know not to be like dumb bigots for no reason. I hope for the most part. I would say the ones that probably do have a problem with it at this point, I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I would say it's probably in the vast minority. And I think I was just surprised it was football, to be honest with you. I think that like the sort of culture around football was the last sport I was expecting to like have the first openly gay active player, you know, to just be the first one. I think it's, if I'm Goodell, I think it's great PR, to be honest with you, because like usually you get the opposite kind of PR from the National Football League, you know, the whole stuff with Colin Kaepernick and like every idiot in every stadium being like, boo, that's our country, or whatever dumb shit they were doing about like him taking a knee and completely missing the point. But I hope not. Jesus, I fucking hope nobody like says any horrific hate speech to him. Like, just play the damn game.
So not to mince words, but this is one thing that's been going on, and I've seen all over social media, whether it's Twitter or whatever, is that, how's he the first gay player in the NFL? Michael Sam.
He's not. There's definitely been tons of them.
Well, so first of all, when we talk about Michael Sam, he never made a roster. Secondly, Carl Nassib's been in the NFL since 2016 when he played with the Cleveland Browns for 2 seasons. Since been 2 years with Tampa Bay, and then played last year and is with the Las Vegas Raiders at this point. This guy is an All-American, Lombardi Award winner, Ted Hendricks Award winner, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in 2015, first team All Big Ten. He's a dude, and he's a great football player. And he plays his position well and was a big part of a good Cleveland Browns defense back in the years of 2016, 2017. So that to mince those words real quick. And Dave, as you were saying about the generation, it's funny. And then also saying about he's definitely not the first one. When this announcement came out from Carl Nassib, Warren Moon took to Twitter and was like, I played with guys that were gay and were just afraid to say anything because of the nature of the game of football, because of the masculinity of the game of American football. And I'm kind of surprised too, but at the same time, I'm not, because we kind of saw it coming, right? Like, not from him, but I mean, like with Michael Sam, and we've heard other players kind of with rumbling. So for Warren Moon to come out and say it, and Warren Moon is pretty big in the NFL, in a lot of NFL circles. So that was great to hear from somebody that's such a great player.
Yeah, and to speak more about the generational thing, I really do think that's a big piece of this too, because listen, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I had a friend come out to me growing up, it was always just kind of like, well, yeah.
Yeah, I knew. Thanks for letting me know.
Right, we've known that for a long time, dude, and it's like, come on, man. Like, it's not something. I feel like it is getting to a point where it's like it's not something you even have to bring up anymore, and that is where I do think we're heading. And Nassib said it the best, where it's like, dude, we really don't even need like you coming out. Yes, it's a great story. I love it, and I'm happy that he has that off his chest. The world knows about it now, but like, in no way does that change who he is as a person, who he is as a football player, or anything like that. And I do think that, like, going through comments on Facebook, yes, there was a lot of shitty ones. There always is. but like,
don't do that to yourself.
70 to 80% of them were like,
very positive.
Like, not even like a who cares in a bad way, but like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? You're a good football player. Go keep playing football. And I just thought it's such a cool transition to see, because 10 years ago, this dude comes out, bro, it would have been a whole different world. So yeah. We've evolved a lot recently to the point where like, this isn't even a big deal anymore.
Something I've always said is that at the end of the day, these guys are doing a job. If you're getting paid to play a professional sport, you're doing a job. And I have work with people wwho are not straight. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Do your job. If you can do your job, I don't care what you do.
Yeah, listen, I have some of my best friends don't even identify with a gender. And it's like, that's completely, it does not change who you are as a person at all. Just because, you know what I mean? It doesn't change it at all. So
Bobby identifies as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Like, that's
how you know it's not a choice.
Exactly.
That's a really good way to know that it's not a choice. That's how you're born that way.
That was something we wanted to bring up on the show here and kind of bring light to of Carl Nassib, first active NFL player to come out as gay in a video that I just loved the video. It was just so casual. And I know for him that wasn't casual.
But that's I think was part of the theme of what he was saying too, where he was like, hey, this is what it is. Like, hopefully it can be the norm to just be like, I'm gay. And it's like not really a big deal. Plus it's Pride Month. So I just thought it was cool to be like, yeah, celebrate, LGBTQ people, but also if you're a dick to him for coming out during Pride Month, it like adds to it. It's like, you're even being an even bigger dick now, dude. Yeah. It's like, you're hurting everyone now. Like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's cool. Yeah, no, it's really cool. And at the end of the day, we all have bigger things in our own lives to worry about what someone else does with their own. So good for Carl Nassib. And
we shouldn't have to say this, but like, don't hate gay people.
Yeah, I know. Please, don't hate anybody. I just hate it, like Bobby. And I know we're kind of going to social.
I fucking hate PJ here. Tucker, man. I don't know.
That's fine. I really hate him. Dennis Weidman, Kyrie Irving lives in my head. It's fine, guys. It happens. You can dislike people, but like, I don't dislike PJ Tucker.
John Gruden. I don't.
Well, John Gruden.
He was nice. He was nice about the whole thing too. Actually, he said some nice things. I'll give him credit on that.
Yeah, well, he's getting a lot of support and from the coaching staff and the team and everyone around the league and the sports world. So, and if people have a problem with it, that's their own problem. And then he's just going to go out and do his job and be good at it because he is good at it. So,
do your job.
Well, guys, that'll do it for Missing the Point. We talked a lot of basketball, brought up Carl Nassib and his announcement to the sports world. And I think we can all say, Ime Udoka, welcome to Boston. We're excited to see what happens. Welcome back, Al Horford and Moses Brown. Welcome to Boston as well.
Welcome back, Anna Horford. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah, Anna Horford. Definitely Anna Horford.
At one point, DK did call Moses Brown Moses Malone. And I fucking wish Moses Malone was back in Boston. I just had to throw that out there.
I thought Ray was going to call him out on it. But anyway, for Rayshawn Buchanan, Dave Clarke, Bob Kelly, I am
Let
Joe
my
Malkin.
people go.
We appreciate you joining us on Missing the Point. We'll talk to you next time.
Step inside the marketing mirror to uncover marketing secrets, discover gems, tactics, lessons, and campaigns you can use, next gen or fundamentals. Grab the marketing magic to improve your marketing and win more business.
Electricast. Hey there, I'm DC. I host the rock podcast Back to the Arena, The Interviews. It's about a 30-minute podcast where I talk one-on-one with a band who has released new music. You can find us on all the best podcast sites like Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're a rock fan like me, subscribe today to Back to the Arena, The Interviews.
Electricast. Electricast.